What if I told you that most people have absolutely no idea where they actually stand financially? Not a rough idea, not a ballpark guess. I mean genuinely no clue. And the reason is simple. We measure wealth the wrong way. We look at income, lifestyle, the car in the driveway, the neighborhood, the job title. But none of that tells you anything real about actual financial position. The number that matters is net worth, and when most people calculate it honestly for the first time, they are genuinely stunned by what they find. Today, we're taking a full tour of the wealth spectrum in America, from checking your balance before ordering guac, all the way to the top 10%. We'll break down real numbers straight from Federal Reserve data. Yes, actual math, not vibes. Show what each level really looks like in everyday life, and follow one realistic person through three completely different financial futures. Same starting point, same income, wildly different outcomes, like choosing between a Honda, a Tesla, or somehow ending up walking. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand, and more importantly, what the math actually looks like if you want to move up without needing a miracle or a lottery ticket. So let us start with the foundation. Net worth is everything you own minus everything you owe. Your savings, retirement accounts, home equity, car value, any investments. Then subtract every debt. Mortgage, car loan, student loans, credit card balances. That final number is your real financial position. Not your salary, not your job title. That number. Now meet our person for today. His name is Tyler. He is 34 years old, works as a marketing manager earning $85,000 a year. He rents a decent apartment, drives a fairly new car, puts a small percentage into his 401k each month. From the outside, Tyler looks solidly middle class. He feels middle class. But when you actually run his numbers, the picture changes fast. Tyler's assets, his car is worth around $22,000. His 401k sits at about $12,000, and he has roughly $3,000 in savings. Total assets, $37,000. Now the debts, he still owes $18,000 on the car loan and carries $26,000 in student loans. Total debt, $44,000. Tyler's net worth is negative $7,000. He is not middle class by the numbers. He sits in the bottom 25% of American households, and he is far from alone. The bottom 25% of households have a net worth below about $23,000, and a significant portion of that group is actually at zero or below. Here is what surprises people about this bracket. It is not just minimum wage workers or people struggling to find employment. This range is filled with people earning $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 or more who simply have not accumulated meaningful assets yet. Good income flowing in, good income flowing right back out through car payments, rent, loan minimums, and lifestyle spending. The income looks middle class. The balance sheet does not. The next bracket runs from roughly $23,000 to $179,000 in net worth. To get there, Tyler needs to close about a $30,000 gap. There are really only two ways to do that: grow assets or cut debt. Households that land in this range often got here primarily through homeownership. A house worth $300,000 with $240,000 left on the mortgage gives you $60,000 in equity right there. Add some retirement savings and a little cash, and you are in this bracket. But here is the catch. Most of that net worth is locked inside the house. You cannot spend equity on an emergency unless you sell or take on more debt. The actual accessible cash for households in this range might be $10,000 to $15,000. That is a razor-thin cushion. Now we hit the exact middle. The median net worth for American households is right around $193,000. Half of all households sit above this, half below. And people tend to react in one of two ways when they hear that number. Either they think it sounds surprisingly low, or they think it sounds higher than they expected. Either way, the reaction reveals that most people are guessing about where the middle actually is. A median-level household might look like $120,000 in home equity, $50,000 in retirement accounts, and around $15,000 in cash. Manageable debt. Seems reasonable. But strip out the home equity and look at what is truly liquid, what they can actually use in a crisis, and you are probably looking at somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000. That is the real financial cushion for half of America. Not broke, but not secure either. There is a meaningful difference between those two things. The upper middle class bracket runs from about $193,000 to $610,000. This is where something fundamentally shifts. Below this level, most household wealth is just home equity, almost accidental wealth building through mortgage payments. But inside this bracket, you start seeing intentional investing, retirement accounts growing consistently, maybe a taxable brokerage account, a more diversified asset base. And critically, this is where compounding begins doing serious heavy lifting. The math from 600,000 to $1 million moves faster than the math from 0 to 600,000 ever did. The top 25% begins at around $610,000. At this level, investments typically dominate the net worth picture rather than home equity. This is the inversion point. Below it, your house is your biggest asset. Above it, your portfolio is. And many people in this bracket are not who you would picture. Research consistently shows they tend to be disciplined savers who drove modest cars and avoided lifestyle inflation. Not necessarily the highest earners in the room. Then there is the top 10% threshold, right around $1.72 million. At that level, a portfolio invested at a conservative 4% annual return generates roughly $69,000 per year in passive income without ever touching the principal. That is more than the median household income in this country, produced entirely by accumulated assets. Work becomes optional. Risk tolerance shifts. Opportunities expand. And within this bracket alone, the range is staggering. The top 1% starts at around 12 to 13 million. The top 0.1% is above 40 million. The wealth gap within the wealthy mirrors the gap between the wealthy and everyone else. Now here is where it gets personal. Those brackets we just described apply to all American households combined. A 25-year-old and a 65-year-old measured against identical standards. That comparison is almost meaningless without age context. Federal Reserve data breaks it down by generation. Under 35, the median net worth is about $39,000. Ages 35 to 44, it rises to $136,000. Ages 45 to 54, around $247,000. Ages 55 to 64, roughly $365,000. Tyler at 34 with negative $7,000 is not just below the overall bottom 25%. He is about $75,000 below the median for his own age group. He sits near the 10th percentile for people under 35. 90% of households his age are ahead of him financially. So what does Tyler actually do from here? 3 scenarios, all built on realistic numbers. No inheritance, no lottery win, just choices. Scenario 1. Tyler changes nothing. Minimum payments on everything. Minimal retirement contributions. Same spending. 2 decades of solid income later, he might reach around $120,000 in net worth by his mid-50s. That sounds like progress until you realize the median for that age group is 365,000. 2 decades of earning well, and he is still significantly below average for his peers. That is the true cost of coasting. Scenario 2. Tyler gets intentional. He finds $700 a month in his budget, puts $400 toward aggressive debt payoff, and $300 into retirement contributions. Student loans gone in 4 years. He redirects all of that into investing, buys a modest home at 38. At a 7% average return over 20 years, his investment portfolio alone reaches roughly $350,000. Add $150,000 in home equity, and he is sitting around $500,000 in net worth. Upper middle class, around the 75th percentile for his age. Same income, same starting point, fundamentally different outcome. Scenario 3. Tyler gets aggressive. He builds income to around $110,000 through skill development and a strategic career move, keeps living on his original budget, and pushes his monthly investing to $1,500 after eliminating debt in 3 years. He house hacks a small duplex at 37, cutting housing costs while building equity simultaneously. By his mid-50s, his investment portfolio is around $700,000. Real estate equity adds another $300,000. Total net worth, approximately $1 million. Top 25% overall, well above the 90th percentile for his age group. From negative 7,000 to $1 million in 20 years. The math works. So go back to the very first question. Lower class, middle class, upper class, which one are you? You probably had an answer before this video started. Now you have the actual numbers to test it against. And if the reality does not match the feeling, that is not a failure. That is information. The most powerful financial move you can make is knowing exactly where you stand and understanding the math required to move. The wealth ladder is not fixed. It shifts every time someone decides to stop guessing and start calculating. I hope you liked this video. This is just getting started. Please subscribe to get more updates on new videos.